So today I'm going to be doing a very special video. This video I've been planning out for a while, and I want to make it 100% perfect because I know a lot of people, they've asked me, hey, when did this event take place? How did this happen within the storyline? So I decided, you know what? Why not do an official video discussing all the events in the fairy tale timeline? So this is going to be a long video. I can already tell because I had to gather so many points. So get comfortable, go ahead and grab your bag of chips, just lay back and enjoy the video. Now for starters, the fairy tale series is started in year 300, X300. Now there was a little gap of an unknown space, and that's basically when we found out that Zareth was born, Natsu was born, and he died that same year. We still have to figure out all the stuff between Natsu, his connection with Zareth, his family, and all that stuff. But we also do find out that the Dragon Slayers are born in that year too. So this little gap, I hope we find out the little time range, so we'll have a gauge on Natsu's true age. And then in X391 we find out about the Dragon Civil War, and I mean, this is a big point for fairy tale because let's be honest, the dragons, they used to get along with the humans, they used to live in peace, but something happened to trigger this civil war. And I mean, honestly, I can't wait till we find out what it is. Maybe the humans did something that the dragons were like, oh hell no, they just had to get their revenge. Or maybe the dragons did something to the humans, the humans weren't going to put up with it. Me personally, I think it had to do something more along the humans, because I think that if anything, let's be honest, if we look at actual humans or actual history, humans, they do a little bit corrupt things. So I can see why the dragons would get mad. Then we move on to X391 plus, and this is another little gap zone. We don't have the exact range, but that's when the man himself is born, Acnologia, and we know how beast Acnologia is. I don't even have to talk about all the stuff that he's done. Acnologia is born, and it's kind of funny because Natsu and all the other Dragon Slayers, they're older than Acnologia if you think about it. Like, that's just crazy. That's crazy just to think about it. We also find out about the dragons. They go inside the Dragon Slayers, they go in there to create the antibodies, so basically that the Dragon Slayers, they won't turn into dragons, something that Acnologia didn't have, and that's why he became a dragon. And last but not least, Anna, she opens up the Eclipse Gate. Now I'm not going to go too deep in it because anime onlys do not know about her, but yeah, that's also another big moment. And then there's a huge gap in time where we just jump straight to the 600s. Now I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot of events that take place within the 600s and the 700s, but I'm going to be focusing on the biggest ones, or the things that I think are the most important. So I'm not going to have every little detail about every little character who was born. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Coming in for year 673, that's when Mavis is born, and this is Mavis. She's the first guild master of fairy tale. She started it along with the other guild, or along with the other mages, so I think it's pretty important to have when she was born. Then we move on to year 679, and this is basically when Red Lizard, the place where Mavis was staying, we already know how they treated her. They treated her like trash, disgusting. They end up getting destroyed, and Mavis is the only survivor. We know the whole thing with Fairy Tail Zero. I like to call this the stuff that I'm talking about right now, this is all seen in Fairy Tail Zero. So yeah, if you guys haven't watched that series, when this video is done, make sure you go check it out, because there's a lot of stuff regarding Mavis's backstory, all the stuff, how Fairy Tail started, and it has a really good plot twist at the end. And in year 686, that is when Fairy Tail started. Yes, that's when all the people come together. You're like, you know what, let's just start a guild that's going to be loving, it's going to have family and everything. So that's when Fairy Tail is started, year 686, the day that a legendary guild was born. And then last but not least, for the 600, Makarov is actually born, and this is crazy because that means that this guy, he's been alive for like, he must be around like 90 years old. Yeah, he's still kicking it. Now I can see why people want him dead, because let's be honest, even though this is anime, we know in anime, oh man, they're pretty much beasts, but this guy is 90 years old and he's straight up doing everything. Like, this guy should be chilling in a hospital bed doing something. But yeah, Makarov is still kicking it after all these years. And then we move on to the year 700, and I gotta say that this is the most action-packed year because a lot of events went down. So let's go ahead and start it. Coming in for the first thing, we know that Yuri dies, and we don't really know how he dies. A lot of people, they thought that Yuri was going to be God Serena, but that theory is pretty much proven wrong. So that's one thing. And then in year 731, Hades, he begins his black magic research, and that's when things go downhill for Hades as a character. That's pretty much when he becomes evil. And we also find out that Ward leaves the guild. I'm assuming that once he leaves the guild, it was obviously to become one of the 10 wizard saints, even though they don't necessarily say that's why he left. I'm pretty sure that's why he did. Then in year 736, Hades actually does leave the guild and Makarov becomes the third guild master. And I won't be honest, Makarov, he's the real MVP because he's hold down that spot as the guild master for the longest time. So we gotta give some props to him, even though a lot of people, they don't like him. And year 739, another legend is born. Gildarts, yes, one of the most hyped up characters in this series, one of the greatest characters in this series is born. And I mean, what can I say about Gildarts? Gildarts is just a monster. I love him a lot. And then we move on. This like I said, I'm not going to name every little specific point, but after Gildarts is born, there's a little time gap, and it's where basically a lot of the main characters were born, you know, like Gray, Lucy, hell, even some of the more fodder people like Jet and Joy, they were all born within the time span between 739 and 772. And speaking of 772, that's when Kana joins Fairy Tail. Now Kana, I felt this is necessary because she's connected to Gildarts. We know her reason why she went to join. She was looking for her father, and even though she's already technically saw her father, her reunion with Gildarts was amazing. Then year 774, one of my favorite characters, my fourth favorite character, Gray loses everything. By everything, I mean the whole thing going on with Deliora. He lost Ore, everything. So basically, this is when Gray goes through his whole little trials and tribulations, and he ends up joining Fairy Tail in that same year. So even though Gray did lose his family and everything, he ended up finding a new one with Fairy Tail. And coming in for year 776, Urza, she actually leaves the Tower of Heaven. Now, Urza, she's one of my favorite female characters. I have her top 3. So the fact that she had to go through all that stuff and then she ended up leaving the Tower of Heaven and joining Fairy Tail, that was a legendary year. And speaking of legendary year, the year that we've all been waiting for, 777. That just saying that just made me just think of all the major stuff. We find out that Layla, Lucy's mom, she's the one who actually opens up the Eclipse gates for the Dragon Slayers to arrive in the present time. And then that's when Natsu is found by Makarov and joins Fairy Tail. And that's basically one of the biggest moments. Hell, this might be the biggest moment of the series. Natsu basically joins the guild in year 777. And we know that the other Dragon Slayers, they go off and do their own thing. But yeah, we basically find out that's what happened with them. And then we even see that Mist again, he leaves and joins the Earthland through the Anima portal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but you guys know what I mean. And last but not least, dang, Layla dies, and we already know what happened from Layla's death. A lot of misunderstandings went down, and it calls for some other characters to get killed. I'm not going to name who because they're anime onlys, but let's move on. In the year 777, Mira Jane, Elfman, and Lisandra, all their parents die, and they end up leaving and joining Fairy Tail. This is the start for some of the 3, I'm going to say the best pair of siblings in the series. Well, the second best behind Natsu and Zera. They end up joining, and yeah, we also find out that Happy is also born that same time. So 777 was low-key kind of important too, because it gave birth to one of my favorite exceeds. And year 772, speaking of Lisandra, this is when she actually quote-unquote died. I'm putting up air quotes because we know that she didn't die, and that's what she sent to the other world. And here's where it all begins. Year 784 is the start of Fairy Tail, and this is basically Fairy Tail. The majority of the series took part in year 784. I mean, Lucy joins Fairy Tail. We already know about the whole iconicness with that. And basically all the arcs up until the Tenro Island, they took place within year 784. I'm not going to go through each and little detail because you guys already know how the arcs go. So yeah, year 784 is basically majority of the series of Fairy Tail. And speaking of the year 784, we know that after that there was a little gap in the 7-year timescape, and I guess this is where all the stuff went down, because in year 785 we find out that Mako, he actually becomes the 4th guild master of the Fairy Tail, and we already know that that doesn't really last too long because he didn't really want to be a guild master. So yeah, that's one thing. We also know that Biska and Alzite get married, and the reason why I threw this in there is because, let's be honest, this is one of the first couples that got really confirmed on screen for us, so I just had to throw that in there. And not to mention the fact that they had a kid and everything, so their relationship was really the one, it might be the most developed one in all of Fairy Tail. And it's funny saying that because these guys guys aren't even main characters, but yet they've already, like, their parent has already taken off. And in year 791, that's when the Fairy Tail Guild returns. Yes, one of the best moments. We got all of them looking shocked. I mean, that was crazy because they come up all bandaged up and everything. A lot of people, they're upset that none of them really aged or anything, or that they didn't really change. Me personally, I think it would be cool if they aged, but I can understand why they didn't. So yeah, I'm not really too mad about that. And we also find out the whole thing with the whole Sun Village and the Tardos arc. As you guys know, the Tardos arc, it was my favorite arc in the entire series until the current arc that happened, which is the Alvarez Empire arc. So yeah, Tardos greatness, Sun Village greatness, that all took place in the same year. And the last but not least, year 792, we are currently in the Alvarez Empire arc, and we know that the Avatar arc took place too. So we don't really know when, like, we don't know which one. Well, we know which one came first. The Avatar arc came first, but yeah, basically the whole plot twist with Gray and everything. I'm not going to go too deep in it because I know there are a lot of anime onlys, but yeah, that's the last event that we have calculated so far. So overall, that is basically the official timeline for Fairy Tail. And I gotta say, man, there's been a lot of great events that went down. There's a lot of stuff that we still don't know. Me personally, I still want to find out the whole stuff about Zeref and Natsu. We don't even know the year date for that. I want to know about the Dragon Silver War. I'm gonna be honest, year 300 has a lot of history behind it, so I can't wait till we actually find that out. But overall, that's basically it for this little video. I want to know, what are you guys, what's your favorite year, and which year are you guys most excited for learning about? Comment what you guys think down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.